Moses Itauma turning down Frank Sanchez isn't about fear, it's smart matchmaking. Remember, Itauma beat Dillian White in 119 seconds, showcasing his speed, power, and composure. Sanchez has skill and danger in his arsenal, but right now he lacks the star pool or financial leverage to justify the matchup.
So Moses Itauma allegedly turns down Frank Sanchez. Now, if you watch Frank Sanchez, if you watch his fight against Caballero, you might think he's an easy opponent. But you may be wrong because you may be missing some important context. Number one, I think Caballero is a world-class heavyweight boxer. I mean, he made Zhilei Zhang look average, and Zhang is not an average fighter. Caballero is developing a world-class reputation. For example, he is technical and has a high boxing intelligence. He's able to adapt to the situation. Also, I noticed that Sanchez had knee support in that fight, if I remember correctly. This means he may have either come into the fight with an injury or he may not have been 100%. This is not an excuse. I repeat, this is not an excuse, but simply an explanation. But Caballero was really good that night, and he's a really good fighter. But let's not forget, Sanchez, he can punch. He can really punch, I believe. And he's actually really fast. The point is, he can represent a big risk for little reward. A big risk for a little reward. Sanchez has everything to gain and nothing to lose, while Moses has everything to lose and very little to gain. Also, his performance, Sanchez's performance against Ajagba, I thought was impressive. You know, the Ajagba that drew with Martin Bakole. Sanchez showed distance control, speed, and power. He walked Ajagba into punches. He set effective and intelligent traps. I liked his left hook off the back foot, and I also appreciated his patience, his composure. So let me ask you a question. If you were managing Moses Itauma, would you put him in against Sanchez? Big risk, very little reward? In essence, it would be very poor matchmaking. A fight against Sanchez makes sense if there is money, interests, and titles on the table. But there's not much on the table other than potentially a very difficult fight. At the moment, the timing simply isn't right for Moses, and clearly the smarter move is to build his name against opponents who bring exposure and momentum. Then, when the stakes are higher, much, much higher, Sanchez becomes a fight worth taking. Because let's face it, and this is an honest question, I like Sanchez, I think he's a good fighter, but does he have the buzz to fight Moses Itauma? And the harsh reality to that question is probably not. That's not to say he can't develop that buzz. It's just to say that at this current time, he doesn't have that buzz. But one big win, and this can become a very appetizing matchup. But boxing is about fighting in the ring and developing a reputation to the boxing public. This, at this current state, would not be a money fight for Sanchez because Moses would have to take the biggest split because of the much bigger risk. And the risk at this stage is simply not worth it. Sanchez is known to the boxing purists, but he's not known to the casual fan. He's just not. And that makes this fight not make much sense to make, even though I believe it would be a very good and interesting fight. Because in truth, Moses turning down Sanchez is not about fear. I don't think it's about fear. It's about smart business. And smart boxing is also about smart business. Sanchez is dangerous, but he doesn't bring enough financial reward or mainstream recognition yet. He doesn't bring enough financial reward or mainstream recognition yet. So the buzz isn't there for a high-risk fight. But this changes if Sanchez can build more momentum, because if he can build momentum, if he can score a knockout against a boxer that's popular this matchup could become both logical and it could become very lucrative. And like I said, I think this would be a very good fight.